I am super, super excited to be here with you today and to bring you guys a training. I was actually working on this late last night, and I was sitting there kind of going through and kind of coming up with this and really kind of trying to dissect what would make an agent successful with this specific type of lead set. And I think it's a really, really good conversation and a real good question. In my opinion, I feel like I wish more I wish more organizations that did marketing services and lead generation services did trainings like this that really helped you guys unpack the specifics of how you can actually execute on the lead and get the most bang for your buck. One thing that Glenn and Lead Heroes have always done a great job at is putting out amazing material and amazing content that helps you guys perform with their leads, right? So many people in the marketing space for insurance agents are so focused on, and I don't mean anyone in particular, but I just, it is something you see commonly that they're like, okay, you figure it out. You got a batch of leads, now you figure it out. And, if you really don't quite have the tools to really execute on the process of these leads, it can kind of end up just kind of being a brick wall that you're running up against, right? So I'm super excited about this. I put a lot of work into this, so I hope you guys like it. Again, if you're just coming in, please mute yourself. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, guys, let's just jump in. So first thing I want you guys to kind of understand a little bit is I feel like the best way to properly work a lead is to really understand the lead itself, right? Now, these, of course, are not specifically leads per se. I put them in a little bit of a different category myself as pre-scheduled appointments, right? So I did a video recently on the YouTube channel kind of explaining why I feel so good about these preset appointments and why I feel like they are a very good quality of lead for you to work if you put them in the same category even. But I feel like here's kind of your hierarchy, if you will, of intent of a lead. I'd put a cold call at the bottom. I'd put a lead here. I'd put a pre-scheduled appointment here. And I'd put a referral or something incredibly warm at the very tip top, right? So a pre-scheduled appointment is not going to have the same kind of intent as a referral, right? I think there's some people that have the misconceived expectations that they're going to be able to come in and they're going to be able to just take orders. And no, that's not the case. I think the only type of marketing or prospecting that you're going to be able to do that could be that is referrals and inbound calls. And inbound calls are... Emma, can you just mute everyone and I'll mute myself?
Everyone's muted. It's just when people come in, sometimes it happens.
Okay, thanks. Awesome. Okay. But I feel like it, with that type of lead, a pre-scheduled appointment, I feel like the intent is very, very high on it, higher than a normal lead, because it's somebody that has agreed to an actual meeting with you, basically, right? So let's kind of talk about a little bit, what are these pre-scheduled appointments? So these pre-scheduled appointments are somebody that has spoken with a caller with Lead Heroes over the phone. They have made contact with the person, they've had a conversation with them, and they have agreed to a meeting with an agent. Not only have they agreed to a meeting with an agent, they've agreed to schedule that meeting 48 hours out with a verbal scope of appointment captured, right? So understand that about the lead. Now, how are these pre-scheduled appointments generated? I think that's another important piece to unpack here to properly understand the lead flow. The way they're actually, this might be a better piece of the pie to really unpack with Glenn. I'm gonna just ask him to unmute himself and kind of talk about how these type of appointments are generated, because I feel like I couldn't do it justice in comparison to him. He's the mastermind.
I appreciate you not butchering this and bringing me in. Yeah, I think like Christian said, you guys, I think the better understanding that you have of how the preset appointment is generated, I think the better tools you're going to be equipped with on how to successfully work these appointments. So, right now, and if you caught our live stream yesterday, Christian and I went deep down the rabbit hole of compliance. What is compliant today versus what might be compliant in the future? And those rules are always changing. These preset appointments are based on how CMS and the FCC and how all of those rules are structured right now. So today's rules, so they are compliant by today's rules. And the way this process works is we have a relationship with publishers directly. A publisher is someone who owns a landing page and they are capturing that opt-in information. So we have publishers who are specifically Medicare and CMS compliant. They are capturing this information. And then again, based on today's rules, you're able to compliantly call that shared opt-in lead. So we get this opt-in lead that's anywhere from 1 to 90 days old. And then we're making that phone call to see if they're still interested in a plan review or more information about the plans that are available in their area. And then once they agree that they are still interested, we're setting that up based on your pre-scheduled calendar time availability. So that's something, again, that at Lead Heroes, my team will go through with you. We'll either figure out, access to your calendar, or you can just kind of give us your preset calendar for what your next week or your next month is going to look like. And then we go to work on filling your calendar for you. So that's kind of start to finish, you guys. And again, Christian also mentioned, we are setting this 48 hours out. We're capturing that verbal scope during the appointment set. So we're really trying to eliminate all of these hurdles to keep you guys from being able to not sell, right? If you get a lead and you have to scope them and then wait 48 hours, you're losing time. So we're trying to remove these hurdles that are in front of you at Lead Heroes. So you're literally just looking at your calendar and either calling that appointment or going to their house to write that policy. So that's kind of start to finish, how that preset appointment is being generated all the way until it's on your calendar.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Yeah, so now that you guys have a pretty good understanding of where these are coming from, right? They're compliant. They are, essentially a very high intent, and they have a scope of appointment already captured. So you can essentially, really, if the appointment goes well, you can do a same day application with that person, right? Good question, Joe. Guys, drop any questions you have as we're going in the chat, and I will reserve some time at the end to kind of come back around and do my best to kind of address them. But if I don't answer right away, it's not because I'm ignoring, it's because I'm saving them to the end. So just keep that in mind. Last thing I want to kind of go into in terms of the lead itself and understanding the lead is, how does the lead quality compare to other type of leads? Well, I would argue that a telephonic lead is one of the higher intent type of leads you can potentially get, right? So if you talk about leads in itself, right? I had an interesting conversation in the Facebook group in the last week or so with somebody that was like, a lead should be a 95% close rate like my referrals are. Otherwise, it's no good. I'm like, oh, that's outrageous. That's the most crazy thing I've ever heard anybody say. And I can always, Glenn and I always talk about this like privately, we can always spot somebody that's never worked a lead, based on kind of how they speak and the terminology and things like that. And it doesn't mean to like insult anybody that hasn't worked a lead. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think to understand the lead, you have to understand the quality and the intent. And so like when you're talking about leads itself, you're going to have social media leads, generated on Facebook, maybe they're generated on Google, Bing, things like that. You're going to have direct mail leads, right? Where postcards are being sent out, they're being filled out, sent back in, right? The old school, tried as true, direct mail lead type, right? You have just internet leads in general where someone's filling out something on a website, maybe generated through SEO. And really with all of those types of leads, specifically anything on the internet that's digital, the intent oftentimes is a bit lower because it's so easy for them to fill out, right? The barrier for them to essentially go through the process of filling out that form is relatively easy, and it's quite forgettable by the time you get back with that person. Direct mail has a little bit higher intent, but direct mail is very difficult to get a good response on these days, right? In 2024, we're seeing it all over the country that with direct mail, what you're finding is you can spend $1,000 and get like 3 leads back. That's a real thing in a lot of places in the country. So in that case, I saw that literally the other day. That's why that number is in my mind. That person's spending about $300 a lead, you guys. So I've always said I felt like the best intent lead you can possibly get when it comes to leads is direct mail. But if you're spending hundreds of dollars per lead, which is what we're finding in a lot of markets, what's the point, right? So I feel like the telemarketed lead is just such a great in between there. And I feel like the quality of it's very good. The person is actually having verbal communication and getting verbal recorded authorization from a prospective member before they pass it off to you. Now, does that mean that these are essentially order takers? They're order taking leads. No, that's not a good expectation to have on these types of leads. Sometimes somebody will fill out a lead and they will fill it out, or sometimes they'll give authorization, I should say, over the phone just to get the person off the phone. Maybe between the 48-hour time, they change their mind or they're not as interested as maybe they were. And that's where your ability as salespeople will come in and essentially make the difference in that call. And you can kind of push a lot of these over the edge, but others will be very, very in need to talk to you. So it's going to be a mixture of that. One thing we're going to go through in this training is essentially sales training and my exact sales process of how you guys can kind of work these leads, scripts, everything like that. And we will have a script available for anybody that wants it when the call is over. I actually made a new one in the last couple of days from scratch. And so I feel like what I'm training on will be going based off that script, okay? So in order to be successful with preset appointments, you must make contact with them, right? You have to be able to get a hold of them, right? No matter how good of a salesperson you are, no matter how good you are at your product knowledge, no matter how good you are at explaining things in the proper way, if you can't make contact, nothing matters, right? So making contact is going to be incredibly key, okay? It is normal to expect a percentage of the appointments, if you're doing telephonic, to not answer the phone. And I would say the same with face-to-face, right? If you guys want to do face-to-face, you'll probably have a higher show rate than you will over the phone. I think that's perfectly natural. But at the same time, you will always have people that flake on you. I had that myself as an agent when I was starting and I was doing all my own appointment setting. I was doing all my own calls. I was doing nothing but face-to-face. It was pretty natural that there was a percentage of people that stood me up. And that is to be expected that will happen. By the way, guys, on the script, I have given that script over to Emma. If you guys would like that script, I'm going to ask Emma to put there we go, her email in the chat here. And there it is right there. Shoot her an email, ask for the script. We are providing it to anybody that asks. Okay. So shoot her an email, let her know you want the script. She'll get it right to you by the end of the day today. Okay. But no, it is normal to expect a percentage of your appointments not to answer or to essentially flake on you on the appointment, but you must have that percentage be as low as possible. And there are some things you can do to avoid that to be too high of a percentage, because if your no-show rate is too high, your ability to execute obviously goes down with it, right? The higher that no-show percentage is going to be. So here's some things you can do. If you're doing a phone appointment and they don't answer the phone, I want you to think about triple dialing these appointments. You need to call them more than once, you guys. You need to do more than just try to call once. And they're like, oh, they didn't answer the phone. Woe is me. Little Billy's off to the next thing. You don't want to do that, right? Call them a few times. Call them once. Wait 2 or 3 minutes. Call them again. Wait another 2 or 3 minutes. Call them a third time. If you do that one simple thing when it comes to telephonic appointments, you will be amazed at how much more of them you can contact than if you just try to call once, right? A little thing like that can make the difference. The other thing is if you can't get them on the phone for your appointment, let's say you try to call them 3 times. I want you to walk into this with the expectation that you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you don't do any kind of follow-up, right? So you should be following up on these appointments later at a later time. Maybe it's later that day. Maybe it's the next day. Maybe it's the following week, but you should be following up with these, making contact. And we've seen multiple situations where people have been able to get a hold of the prospective member by just doing a little bit of dirty work and showing and putting a little bit of sweat equity into it in order to try to get them on the phone. So that still is a thing, and you still have to do that, I think, with any type of lead source. But I think the biggest mistake that most agents make is they just don't attempt any type of follow-up. There's just a bit of laziness in there, and you don't want to do that. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Your contact rate, the higher percentage your contact rate can be, the better you're going to perform. End of story, right? And then, of course, if you just can't get them on the phone, automations never hurt anybody. If you have any kind of automation service. By the way, guys, if you throw your email in the chat, you're not getting the script. You have to actually email Emma. So just keep that in mind. Like, her email's in the chat. Reach out to her. And Emma, drop it again just so it's at the top, if you would. But yes, guys, automations never hurt, right? Automations never hurt if you have some type of automation software. Some kind of Go high level system is fantastic for this. You can build out an automation to where you can send them text, you can send them emails being like, we had an appointment, Mrs. Johnson. I'm sorry I didn't get with you. I'm sorry we weren't able to connect. I would love to find a time to reschedule. Here's my calendar link, here's my calendar link. Schedule a time that's convenient for you. Like, automations never hurt either, but this isn't an automation course. This isn't an automation training, right? So we have a lot of that in Six Figure Medicare University. Maybe we can do another one at another time if you guys like. But if you have some kind of system that can do automations, build one out to automate your appointments that you can't get a hold of. Never hurts anything. Next thing. You guys need a good script to help you open the door. To me, I look at a script, the purpose of a script, as essentially something that's going to allow me to open the door of having a conversation with that person. The script is not going to take me through step by step the entire appointment, however. I had an agent last year, kind of new to Medicare. We sent him some of our scripts, and he's like, well, I was kind of expecting like a 10-page script. And I was like, what? I'm like, he was expecting a script that essentially took him through every single scenario that he could potentially run into. I'm like, brother, you're going to need more like a 150-page script, because this can go a lot of different ways. You know what I mean? Like, every single scenario. And I'm like, and it's just not realistic. To me, I don't think you want to script your appointments too much because you sound too robotic. However, you want to script the beginning of the appointment, the first 60 seconds to 2 minutes. You want to script, because that's going to allow them to essentially have a conversation with you. And this script I'm going to share with you works. Okay. Before I get into the actual meat and potatoes of the script, I want you guys to understand the keys to having a good script work for you. Okay. Number one, sound like you actually want to talk to the person. You think I wouldn't have to say this, but you would not believe some of the sales calls I've heard, and I know Glenn has heard probably 10 times more than I have when it comes to sales calls where there's just the person that's making the call to the prospective member is unmotivated and uninspired, and you can hear it, you can feel it through the phone, and the prospects can too. So your tonality needs to be on point when you call. I want you to be energetic. I want you to be assertive. I don't want you to let them bulldoze over you. And you need to sound enthusiastic about the conversation, because enthusiasm and the feeling that person gets on the phone when they pick up and they hear you is contagious, for better or for worse. It can be your best friend or your worst enemy if you don't have it right. Okay. I want you guys to think about this as well. I want your scripts to be quick and to the point. tight is what I want your scripts to be. Okay. It can't give them time to process enough to shut you down. The biggest reason why so many people get shut down immediately on a sales call, it's not the only reason, but I think a large reason is because their scripts are, you know, they're like a book, their scripts, you know, like you're giving people too much time to react and just shut you down. And at the end of the day too, like if someone calls me up and they have some big long script, I'm going to freaking hang up on them because I don't have time to talk to them. And a lot of people feel that way. But if someone calls me up and they're quick, they're like, hey, Mr. Brindle, my name's blah. I'm calling about blah. They have a better chance with me. Now, they don't have a good chance at all either way, but they're going to have the guy with the shorter script that's not wasting my time has got a better chance than the guy with the long script, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking what most of your prospects are thinking, get to the point. Get to the point. And so I want you to cut some things out of your scripts. Stop asking them how their day is. Hey, Mrs. Jones, how are you doing today? Don't ask that question. You know, if someone calls me up and I don't know who they are and they ask me how my day is, you wouldn't believe how many agents are doing this, by the way, guys. Someone calls me up and they ask me how my day is. My immediate reaction is like anger. You know, I'm just like, what do you want? You know, because I'm a busy person. Everybody's got things to do, places to be, people to see. Prospects do too. They don't want to waste their time on the phone. And so cut that chit chat out. Now there's a place for the chit chat in the phone call. We're going to come back to that, but it's not so early in the call. The other thing I want you to be thinking about is fact find early. One of the worst things you can do on a sales call is spend 15 minutes on the sales call before you properly fact find. And then you realize, and I've seen it be longer than 15 minutes. I've seen it be 30 minutes, 45 minutes before you realize that maybe you can't write that person. Maybe they're on the best plan for them. That happens. Maybe they're on a plan, maybe they're on a Medicare supplement and they have, you know, extreme chronic health conditions and they couldn't change even if they wanted to. It happens. Right? You want to find that out early so you can move on to the next thing. One of the biggest momentum killers when people are doing any type of pre-scheduled appointment, lead flow, anything like that. And I promise, guys, as an agent, I was one of the best there is, and I worked every type of lead under the sun. And what I've learned was I can think of plenty of instances where I'd stay on the phone with someone 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour before I realized that I couldn't help them. And it just felt like a gut punch. It took all the wind out of me, right? So fact find early and don't waste your time in the appointment, and also respect their time. Get to the point. Find out if you can help them early and respect their time as well, okay? So here's our script internally I'm going to run through with you. This is the script that Emma will send to any of you guys that reach out to her and ask for it through email. Okay, so this is essentially the script that we use internally. And this is a script we use for a lot of different types of leads. We just make a couple of different tweaks, but this script I've messed with over the years and I've tried all different types of phrasing and wording, and it's a nuclear weapon. This script has sold a lot of policies for me and for other agents that work with us over the years. Okay, so here's the script. Phone rings. Person picks up. They go, hello. The agent goes, hi, is this? Let's just say we're talking to Jenny. Hi, is this Jenny? Client goes, yes. Now, why am I doing that? Let's unpack this for a second. Why am I doing that? I heard a sales trainer one time say, never start the call with a question. Really? I have started many calls with a question, and I've made millions of dollars selling insurance doing that. Like, I mean, I actually think there's a science behind starting out your call this way. I'm starting off by asking if it's their first name. By the way, first name always. Always, every single time. Last, saying Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Jones, they know right off the bat not to talk to you.
Can I guess why you're doing that?
Yes.
Because I feel the same way, which is funny. But again, I'm in the same boat as what I think you're about to say. I think you're training the prospect to say yes.
That's it. That's it.
I
I'm getting
win.
a yes in the first 5 seconds. That's exactly it. What's the other? There's another reason to it as well. That's 80% of it, but I'd say the other 20% is people love hearing their name, right? So the sweetest word in the English language to a human being is their name, right? So there's a bit of psychology that goes into it, right? You're getting a yes early and often, and you're also getting them to hear their name early and often, right? So their guard goes down just without even realizing it. Their wall essentially goes down just ever so slightly. Okay. So, hi, let's say I'm talking to Jenny. Hi, is this Jenny? Energetic, enthusiastic. I sound like I want to talk to freaking Jenny because I do. I want Jenny to feel that I want to talk to her. I don't want to call up and be like, hi, is this Jenny? A lot of agents do that. Be intentional about how you sound on the phone, right? So almost always now, if I'm calling Jenny and some guy answers her, hello, I'm not going to be like, is this Jenny? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, hi, I'm actually calling for Jenny. Is she around? And some people will be like, who's calling? And we'll come back to that, right? But let's just say Jenny's answering the phone. So I'm going to say, hi, is this Jenny? I get a yes out of Jenny. Yes. This is my script. Quick, fast, to the point, 10 seconds. If I'm not, like mumble mouth and I'm stuttering over myself, but I can get this out in 10 seconds. Hi, is this Jenny? Yes. Hi, Jenny. This is Christian. So many agents call up and they'll say, hi, this is little Billy with handy dandy insurance. I'm calling, killer of a sales call. Horrible way to do a sales call as far as I'm concerned. Why am I doing that? I'm using their first name. I'm using my first name with no other context at the beginning because what's going through their mind? Their mind is circulating. Their mind is circulating from the standpoint of maybe I know this guy. And they give me a chance to get my 2 cents out, right? Even though these are scheduled appointments, a lot of these people forget they made the appointment. We're dealing with seniors, right? So you have to approach it this way to get the best results. This is over the phone, of course. We'll talk about face-to-face in a second here. But, okay, let me go through the whole thing. Hi, is this Jenny? Yes. Hi, Jenny. This is Christian. You spoke with my associate the other day about Medicare plan changes here in the area, and they scheduled a time for me to get in touch with you about it. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions to determine if I can be of any service? I'm going right into the fact find. I'm not wasting any time. I'm in the fact find. I'm not giving them a chance to react. And I'm not asking them for much of anything that scares them, right? So a lot of times, the biggest thing that can scare a prospect is, like Glenn and I were talking the other day. I think we were talking about this on a live stream. Some of these big call centers, these prospects will call into them and they're saying, well, I can't speak with you until I get your Medicare number. I don't even know your name yet, but I need your Medicare number, right? Like they're used to that. A lot of these people are used to that kind of garbage. I'm not asking them for anything. I'm not asking them for any type of commitment. I just want to ask them a few questions, right? So what I'm doing, I'm introducing myself. I'm reminding them they spoke with our associate. And I'm reminding them about that we had a scheduled time to talk. And I'm the man with the plan that they agreed to talk to. And I'm asking them to go through a few questions and to determine if I can be of any service. To determine if I can be of any service is a gold sentence for a senior to hear. They don't hear that type of terminology anymore these days. Seniors are used to the golden age of service and accommodation. It's sounding like I want to go through it with them to make sure I can help them, I can accommodate them. It's a very non-threatening way to approach the call. What I have found in my own career, making calls, calling any type of lead you can think of, these included, is I'd say probably 8 out of 10 times they're going to say, yeah, that's fine, or sure. A lot of times I'll get a sure. I probably get a sure more than anything else. I remember there was an agent that worked in our office last year. that Glenn knows. He was in our office for most of the year no, it wasn't last year, the year before, right? 2022, I think. Yeah, 2022. So
it's starting to all blend together, but yes,
yes,
2022.
sorry, 2 years ago now. But he's somebody I think of heavily every time I talk about this script, because I'm going through this with him, and he's like, this goes against a lot of what I've been taught from this person or that person. I'm like, how successful is that person that taught you that? He's like, I don't think they're very successful. I'm like, so why you care? Why do you care what they taught you? And he starts going through the script. He's even a little bit like skeptical, and he's booking appointments. He's getting through on calls. And I remember he was just like, it's like, well, man, this really works. This is actually working. It does. It's been tested, tried and true, tens of thousands of phone calls with this script. Okay. So they say, sure, right? They're reluctant, but they're giving me a sure. Sure is good. I want sure. What questions am I asking? What am I trying to find out? Well, for me, what I want to find out is as much about their plan currently as possible, because that's going to tell me a lot of what I can do right off the bat. So I'm going to say perfect. I'm going to preference every time I get a yes or a positive reaction from them, I'm going to give them a positive reaction back. I'm going to be like fantastic, perfect, terrific, any of those things, right? I'm subconsciously, I'm rewarding their yeses or compliance, for lack of a better word, to what I'm asking them to give me with a positive reaction back, right? So they're gonna say sure. I'm gonna say perfect. I assume you're on Medicare now. Is that right? Yes. Fantastic. Do you know if you have a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, Jenny? I think I have a Medicare supplement. Every senior in America thinks they have a Medicare supplement, by the way. I'm going to say terrific. Do you pay anything for your plan now? No, I think I pay $165 for it. They're thinking of last year's Part B premium. I'm going to be like, perfect. Do you know if that's your Medicare Part B premium? Do you pay anything in addition to that? She's like, yeah, they take it out of my Social Security. I know right there they don't have a Medicare supplement. They can't pay premium that way, right? So you start asking these questions. You try to identify, because the caller, the answer that they gave the caller on what plan they have might not be what they have. You got to really identify what they have. That's the first thing you need to find out if you're going to get anywhere with this prospect, right? So to back up, I'm going to say, I assume you're on Medicare now. Yes. Perfect. Do you know if you have a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan? I think I have a Medicare supplement. Fantastic. Do you know if you pay anything monthly for it? Oh, I pay $160 for it or $170 for it or whatever they say, right? I'm going to say, terrific. Do you know if that's your Medicare Part B premium, Jenny, or do you pay anything in addition to that? Oh, it comes out of my Social Security. I'm going to say, terrific. Do you pay anything outside of that? No, that's all. I'm going to say, oh, that's terrific. That's fantastic. Do you happen to know which insurance company that's with, Jenny? It's with Humana. Maybe. Terrific. Fantastic. Do you know if that's called Humana Gold by chance? It is. I'm going to be like, that's great, Jenny. I actually know exactly what plan you're on, right? I've gotten, and I can accomplish all of this in 60 seconds or less usually, if they're not giving me too much pushback. Let's talk about the scenario where they're giving me pushback, right? Because anybody can make a call like this and get through it where the person's just cooperative. Let's talk about the people that aren't cooperative, because not everybody you're going to talk to is going to be cooperative, right? So at times, again, you're going to get pushback. Some of these people, like I said earlier, just agree to talk to an agent to get the caller off the phone. Others, their intent lowers over the course of days. So you must show a bit of persistence and salesmanship to get them to have a conversation with you. So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say I'm going through my questions and the person gives me one of these. They say, you know what? I'm actually really happy with what I got. I'm not interested. How many of us in here, all of you have your camera off, by the way, so I can't see your hands. That's very hurtful. But But let's say, just like give me a thumbs up in the chat. How many of you have gotten that type of objection before in a call? How many people? How many of you guys? I would assume probably every single one of you, if you ever made a sales call before, have, right? Yeah. I think a majority of you probably have, if you're being honest. So let's say I get that type of pushback. How am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle that? Well, I'm going to handle it like this. I'm going to say, you know what, Jenny, I perfectly understand. Always remain in agreement with your prospect. Don't get into the battle of disagreeing. Be like, I disagree with that, Jenny. Like, no, don't do that. You want them to feel comfortable, secure. What you're trying to prevent is from them disconnecting the call. And you have no power to stop them from doing that. So you have to conduct yourself as well as possible, right? So I'm going to say, you know what, Jenny, I totally understand. I'm with you. I totally get it. One thing that we could do, if you like, is I could just finish up and ask you a couple questions and without any cost, without any type of obligation whatsoever, I could tell you if I feel like there might be a program out there that offers everything you have right now with maybe a little bit more that you're not aware of. And then from there, you can do what you like with that information. Does that sound fair? Right? You guys need to be able to calmly and kindly overcome these objections. That has become essentially my brand in making sales calls. I remember there was a time, actually it was with Lead Hero Leads. I don't know if I ever told Glenn this story. There was an agent that was with us several years ago. And I had a batch of Lead Hero leads, didn't know what to do with them, didn't have time to work with them myself. So I gave them to an agent of ours. And she struggled with them mightily. And she just struggled. So I'm like, she's like, I'd like to see how you handle these calls. So I took the same batch, the one she's already called, by the way. We get on Zoom together. She watches me call. And I'm doing exactly what I'm training you guys on right now, verbatim on this call. And this one lady, when my agent first called her, screamed and hung up on her within like 10 seconds. So I get this person on the phone. She tries to give me the same stuff. I'm overcoming, I'm getting the objections. I'm deflecting. I'm swimming, and at the call ends with essentially me having a follow-up call with her a few days later. And she ends after talking for about 20 minutes. She ends with saying, she's like, I got to tell you something. She's like, I have a lot of people call me. She's like, you are really good. She's like, you're good. You're really good. And that's what you should want your prospects to be saying to you. That's how you know you're executing well on these leads. You're really good. Somebody that doesn't want to talk to you, somebody that screamed at an agent a few days before, calling about the same thing. So you have to be quick on your toes and be willing to overcome an objection. Okay. Here's best practices with that. I want you guys to get in the mindset of getting 3 no's before you give up. At least get 3 no's. So in that situation I just gave you, right? She said no. I overcame with an objection. She comes back. She's like, well, I don't know. I don't really have time right now. That might be the next one, right? This isn't a good time. I'm going to say, you know what, Jenny? I totally understand. And I agree with you. She could say anything. I'm going to agree with her. She's going to say, I'm a Democrat. Be like, me too. Go Joe. She's going to be like, I'm a Republican. I'll be like, Trump needs back in. I'm in agreement. I'm locked in with her. I'm in sync with this prospect, right? So she says, this isn't a good time. You know what? I totally understand. How would it work for you if I tried to get back in touch with you tomorrow at 11 o'clock? Would that be a better time for you, Jenny? She's going to be like, well, I don't know. I need to talk to my husband. I'm going to say, totally understand. I'd be the exact same way if I was in your shoes. When is a good time that you and your husband will both be available? I'd love to have the opportunity to speak with him. Right? Like I'm not letting her bulldoze me. I'm not being too aggressive. I'm not being rude. I'm not pissing her off. I'm not making her feel uncomfortable. But I'm gently overcoming the objection. So I'm trying to get 3 no's, 3, before I'm giving up on this person. And sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling out the call, it's going to be a bit situational. I might feel like I need more than that. I might feel like I need 4 or 5 no's. you know? Now, at the same time, I don't want to keep going and going and going and going and going if she's just giving me no after no after no after no after no. I don't want to waste my time. But so many people get one no and they're like, okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. And they're just done. You guys have to be a little bit resilient to make any kind of sales call, in my opinion. A couple other best practices. I want you guys to have a Zen-like mentality on these calls. Stay leveled. Stay here, not up and down like this, right? That will help you that'll help you tremendously on kind of handling these, right? Like if the call's going well, don't go like this. They're going to feel that. They're going to be like, why is this person so excited? I might be their first customer of like 6 months. You know, you don't want them to feel like that. I felt like that before. I'm like, am I the only, and that makes me feel like a sucker, you know, as a customer. I'm like, am I the only person that's falling for this bullshit? Like, you want to be very leveled and be like, you know, I do this every day. I do this every day, and this ain't no big deal to me, right? Stay right here, very level. Be intentional with words you use and words you don't use. So for example, now this is an old school sales tactic, but I found it to be true. I actually learned this from Tom Hopkins. I've read a bunch of Tom Hopkins books. I love Tom Hopkins. And, you know, one thing I learned from Tom Hopkins was that I realized I was doing in my own sales calls was I was using words that I feel like people have been trained and programmed their whole life to be negative towards. So an example is sign. You know, they say, well, how does this work? I'll be like, I just need you to sign something. You know, like that's going to spook a lot of your prospects. What I'm going to say is, you know, we just got to do some paperwork together. That's all. We just got to do some paperwork together. I'm saying the same thing. It's just less threatening, right? What's another one? Instead of saying, you know, we can get you enrolled. I hear agents say this all the time. We're going to get you enrolled in this plan, Mrs. Johnson. Now, this one I'm not saying is necessarily always bad, but I feel like there's a better way to phrase that. I'm going to say, Jenny, if this, let's say I'm going through the appointment, right? I've done well with Jenny. I get to the end. I'm going to say, Jenny, we could actually get this started for you for a 2/1 effective date. How does that sound? I like the phrasing of get this started versus enrolled, right? I feel like it's a softer tonality. So evaluate the words that you're using. Never use the word sell. I hear agents say this all the time. I sell every single plan in your area. They don't want to be sold. They've been told by their teachers, their parents, their friends, their grandparents, their sisters, their brothers, not to let anybody sell them their whole life. And then here you are telling them to their face, I'm going to sell you. Don't do that. You know, say, I work with all the plans in your area or a bunch of plans in your area, or I represent a bunch of plans in your area. Just be very intentional with what words you're using on the phone. And you're going to get farther. Now, some of you guys have probably seen me ranting and raving like a crazy person a couple months ago about, you know, how agents refuse to admit they're salespeople. I 100% believe that you are a salesperson. I believe it, but that doesn't mean you have to tell your prospects that. You know what I mean? Like, so keep that in mind, right? That is going to, in my opinion, help you tremendously. I'm getting close to the end, guys, and then I want to save some time for questions, and I'd love to hear from Glenn if he has anything he feels like that I missed. Control the call. If you cannot control the sales call, you can't get anywhere positive on the sales call. So you have to control the call. What do I mean by that? It's not just somebody trying to shut you down. It's somebody that wants to talk to you about everything other than what you're calling about. Don't let it happen. Don't let people talk your ear off. You know, like we all have had that person where we get them on the phone and I'm like, yeah, Jenny. So, you know, this plan G in your area with XYZ insurance company actually would save you $35 a month on the premium. It'd be the exact same plan because they're standardized. I don't know if you're aware of that. What do you think about that? Oh yes, I'm sorry, face-to-face. I'll talk about that a little bit. And you know, I say that to Jenny, and Jenny's like, yeah, you know, I lived in a log cabin when I grew up. I had 6 brothers. They used to beat up on me all the time, which means I'm tough. I don't take any shit from men. And, she's just like going. And I'm just like, what is happening? You have to be like, yeah. Anyway, about this, you have to forcefully kind of steer the conversation back. Don't let people control the phone call. You have to control the phone call. Okay. To me, I think the goal should be to close 20% of these on phone calls. I think if you're face-to-face, you should be able to close more. My wife closed nearly 30% of the ones we gave her over the phone during AEP. I'm not saying that's going to be everybody, but my wife's extent of sales training has been watching me sell for 6 or 7 years. But she doesn't have a ton of personal sales experience. She just sat back and watched me. And she's using this exact same system that I'm laying out for you guys. That's how she did it. And it was during AEP. That probably helped too. But I think the goal should be to close 20%. So have the expectation that if you talk to 5, you should get 1. If you talk to 10, you should get 2. And maybe more if you're on a roll. Let's talk just real quickly about face-to-face. I want to make sure that we have time for questions. And I want to give Glenn a second to talk if there's anything he wants to add. So face-to-face, guys, face-to-face is a lot easier because all you're having to do is show up, right? The face-to-face appointments are at their home. So they're not coming to you. You're going to them. You're going to their home. So you don't have to call and get them to agree to talk to you. Now, here's a little bit of tips that I'd give you guys when it comes to getting in the house. Because, you might get people that try to not let you in the house. Now you have to be careful with this. You don't want to get shot. See, people take what I'm about to say the wrong way sometimes. But you have to be a little bit assertive in the home. And you have to have a little bit of nerves of steel a little bit, which I have, So what I do is I go to the door, I knock. Jenny answers the door. I'm going to say, hey, Jenny, my name is Christian. You spoke with one of my associates the other day. They scheduled an appointment for me to come see you when I was out in the area. I'm out in the area is a powerful, powerful phrase. I'm out in your area, or I'm going to be out in your area is one of the best phrases I've ever used in my career when it came to getting appointments or going to appointments. So I was out in the area. It's like, I was out here anyway. It's no big deal. Here I am. I was out here already. I didn't come just for you. You're not that important, Jenny. I'm here. That's kind of the messaging you're giving, right? So I was out in the area, and they scheduled a time for me to stop by. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move towards the door. I'm going to move towards the door as if I'm trying to come in. Now, I'm not going to push the door open or I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to gently move towards the door. And I would say 9 out of 10 times they're going to let you in.
I had a door-to-door sales trainer, you guys, who he would wipe his feet on the doormat. That was his move. I watched him do it over and over and over. It worked almost every single time. Blew my mind when I was like 20 years old, a long time ago. But he would literally start pretty aggressively just wiping his feet on the doormat right in front of the prospect. And again, that was cold door-to-door knocking, sales training. And that guy would get in almost every house when he was talking to someone. So, but again, it's not like he's banging down the door. He's not going to beat the door down to get into this appointment or to talk to this person. But body language, when you are face-to-face, take advantage of it. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, what you guys have going for you in person versus over the phone is there's so much communication that's not verbal that you get when you're face-to-face. Like Glenn said, body language, eye contact, making eye contact, smiling. I mean, my smile probably scares, I feel like my smile probably scares people, but I don't think it does because I've gotten into a lot of doors. I've had, so smiling, eye contact, so much, how you're posturing, right? Like how your stance is. Are you standing like this? You have so much going for you when it comes to face-to-face, and so the main thing when it comes to these face-to-face appointments is getting in the door. Now, let's say they're not there. What I always did when I was out in the field and people weren't home, is I'd write I'd get one of my cards out, I'd write in the back and say, sorry, I missed you at our 11 o'clock appointment. And I'd stick it in their door. And then I'd call them back later, try to reschedule. That's how I do it. There might be a better way, but I was able to reschedule with lots of people that stood me up and write a lot of policies. But there's not a whole lot you can do if you go to the home and it's just empty. There's nobody there. Not a whole lot you can do other than really follow up. No, Jackie, I don't even think there is a script. I mean, maybe a little bit. I would just say, hi, my name is Jackie. You spoke with one of my associates the other day, and they scheduled a time for me to stop by. I was out in the area anyway, and then I moved towards the door. That's what I would do. And so maybe a similar script, but like, I don't think you need a script as much. You got to get in the door, and I think that's the way to do it. But yeah. Oh, that's a good one for us. I've actually never tried that, but I really like that. He said, coming from the door-to-door game, asking if they want shoes on or off is almost always works. That's a good one. I like that. It's assuming that you're going inside. You're assuming the entrance of the home. But anyway, guys, that's essentially what I got for you in terms of our training today. I hope it was helpful. I'm going to spend some time kind of going through questions now with you guys. And Glenn, I don't know if there's anything you want to add. Is there anything you want to add before we do questions?
I think, guys, the little things can make a big deal as far as your contact rate and then your overall conversion rate. So, Christian talked about triple dialing people. I mentioned in the chat, making sure that your phone number is not coming up as spam. Maybe we need to do a separate training on that. I'm not going to get too deep into that right now, but that's something that's important. During AAP, one thing that came up, we were talking about automatic notifications, and there's so many different systems and software solutions out there that can do automatic notifications for follow-up. I don't believe in calling ahead. I think if you call ahead to someone and you say, hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm 2 hours away. Are we still good for our 1 p.m.? I think you're really just giving them an opportunity to say no, or you know what, I changed my mind. But I am a huge fan of a no reply automatic notification where they're just getting an email or they're getting a text, or maybe they're getting both. Again, lots of different software solutions that can do that, but that can help increase your show rate, your contact rate. And then, I think I wanted to start going through some of these questions. Like Christian said, we're kind of running out of time here, but I wanted to start kind of at the top. So one of the first questions was, do I get a credit, or does the appointment get replaced if they're not home or they don't answer the phone? So you don't get a replacement if you don't get a hold of them. What you're going to get with every single appointment that's set is you're going to get the permission to contact, you're going to get that verbal scope of appointment, and you're going to get a copy of the recording of the appointment being set. So by having that information, it will allow you to continue to try to contact this person and hopefully get a chance to speak with them or an opportunity to write their policy for at least 90 days, according to TCPA rules. Going off of scope rules, it's longer than 90 days. I've asked people before which one trumps which. I can't really give you an answer, but I know for a fact, as long as it's 90 days, you're safe. So I think there's kind of two mentalities. Some people, again, they call, they don't get a hold of someone, they hang up, they're bummed out. I would look at everything as an opportunity, even if you don't get a hold of them on the first call, or if you are doing face-to-face and you show up and they're not home, tons of opportunities to still contact that person. Dean, you asked if the leads came from someone calling in or inputting a request, why can't we reference that? Absolutely, you can. Hey, Christian just kind of mentioned it a moment ago. I thought that was a good little script, something similar to what I would recommend. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you talked to someone from my office, or you talked to my assistant, or you talked to someone who, my appointment setter. They were talking to you 2 or 3 days ago about having a licensed Medicare representative go over your plan options with you. That's who I am. I'm licensed by the state. I'm here to go over your plan options with you, or to talk to you about your plan options. So, as far as referencing exactly how that person came into our network of people that we're allowed to compliantly make phone calls to, unfortunately, there's so many different ways that opt-in information gets to us that I can't tell you just like one landing page or one phone number or one ad that they saw. There's too many ways that they come in. But I would absolutely reference that original appointment set phone call, because again, you're going to have a recording of it, and they should remember that they spoke to someone within the last 2 or 3 days. Another question from Tyler: would face-to-face presets allow for them to come into our office? That is not what the program is designed to do. It's designed for in-home appointments. We've done this for years now, appointment setting at Lead Heroes. And when we've tried to do setting appointments to have someone come into the office, again, that's kind of an extra hurdle for your prospect. They've got to get to you at a certain time and date. This is designed for you to either contact them over the phone or go see them in person at their home. Scripts, you guys, if you're looking for the script that Christian went over today, please email Emma. It's emma@eseniorins.com, and she will get that back to you. There was another question here. Let's see. Using the word offer, I thought that, yeah, that's another great word that's not sales, specifically using the word sale, or hey, I'm an insurance salesman, or hey, anything that could potentially trigger. I think that was a really great point that Christian made earlier. Everyone's been trained to say no to salespeople. That's really how, again, from elementary school up, really what the information that's being given to everybody these days. So trying to get on the other side of that, where you're not a salesperson, you're a Medicare broker, you're on their side, you're trying to help them accomplish their goals. You're not trying to sell them anything, right? That's definitely the mentality I would have. Emotional transference, being on the same level with them, mirroring your prospect, mimicking them. If they are really high energy and they're excited, yeah, match that energy. If they're a little slower, maybe for whatever reason, not super energetic that day, try to really match their energy. Do you find value? This is from Joanne. Do you find value in informing that you are a licensed Medicare advisor in your local area to validate that you are legit? Yeah, I used to personally, guys, when I was running face-to-face appointments, I had what I did is I took my state insurance license, I shrunk it down, and then I had a clip, and I literally had it clipped on like it was an official badge. And I had, like those doctor clips where they can like pull it. I literally got one of those, and I would pull it out when I was at the door. I would literally have it on my shirt, extend it out and be like, hey, look, here's my license. And that was a really big one as far as validating who I was. There was one time someone was so sketched out by me showing up. We got on the phone with the state right there and then. I said, give them my badge number, which again, that's my license number. I'm like, give them my license number, and you can ask them if I'm a licensed insurance agent with the state. And, lo and behold, the state confirmed it, and I was in the door. So I absolutely would lean on the fact that you're a state licensed representative. That's what sets you apart from other salespeople. You're not just a salesperson. You're actually licensed by the state. And that means there's extra hurdles that you have to go through before you can even get that license. And it does make you more legit, for sure, in my opinion.
One thing I wanted to piggyback on that, because I think that's very true and very good. One phrasing that I've always used for Medicare out in the field is I'm a local Medicare specialist. And I've always found that to be really good. Some people might be like, compliance Nazis might be like, you use the word Medicare. What am I supposed to say? I don't know.
Supplement benefit specialist.
Right. I feel like if, that's how we've always branded ourselves. We're Medicare specialist. We specialize in Medicare health plans. We're Medicare specialists. And that's how I've always kind of, introduced myself to people, or been like, hey, my name's Christian. I'm a local Medicare specialist here in the area. And I feel like that gets the message to them in a good way of kind of who I am, right? Now, I work with people on Medicare. It's what I do. I specialize in it.
Guys, I want to be respectful of Christian's time and everyone's time who got on this webinar. So I know I think we got through pretty much all the questions that I saw. If any additional questions come up, if you're watching the replay, please don't hesitate to reach out. Leads, L-E-A-D-S, leads at leadheroes.com. You can reach out to my team, our team, anyone who is working here at the company, and we can answer any questions that you guys have, help you get set up. We are running a promotion on the preset appointments right now until the end of the month, or until we sell out a block of 5,000 appointments. And that is going to be in the chat if you didn't already see that, you guys. Normally for face-to-face, it's $88 per preset. They're $18 off, so you can actually get them for $70 per preset appointment right now. Plus, we have a volume discount that you can stack on top of that and get an even greater discount. And then also the phone appointments are actually because we have a much larger area to generate those phone appointments, those cost a little bit less for us to generate. We pass those savings on to you guys, and those are on sale as well. So normally $66, and you can get those, I believe it's 50 right now, 55. So 55, and then our volume discount for phone appointments is 50 if you order 100 or more. So yeah, that's really everything I have for you guys for today's webinar training. I thought this was really, really good. I can't wait to get this uploaded for other agents who weren't able to make it onto the live call today. Christian, any other final thoughts that you wanted to share?
No, guys, I would just say, you have 5 days left of this promo, where these are, heavily discounted for you. These can be great alternatives to add to your marketing punch for OEP and kind of get you guys some great business throughout the end of OEP. So make sure to take advantage of the promo before it expires. Again, you really just have 5 days. You don't have a ton of time. You just have 5 days left. And yeah, guys, I mean, part of the reason why, CBIS and Lead Heroes have, merged into one was because of our success with the leads over the years. Like I had, I want to say almost 4 years of us ordering leads consistently and using them internally. And they were always a great resource for us and a great option. And we always did well with them. So, make sure to jump on that promo. And I hope you guys found this valuable. If you came in late and you want to watch the replay of this, we will try to have it on the YouTube channel by Monday. That's kind of our target. So we'll be putting it on YouTube for free for everybody to access, and we'll be putting it in other places as well. But yeah, I hope you guys found this valuable, and I hope you found it helpful. That's kind of what we wanted.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day.